Hello, everybody. It's Michael
Good day,
Pearson with the
Michael.
Webmasters Posse, welcoming everybody to another Ancient Wisdom Wednesday. Today's Ancient Wisdom isn't from the dawn of time like previous weeks, but the author did publish it 35 years ago, so I believe for most of us that's pretty ancient, at least half our lifetime, some of us more than that. So welcome everybody. Hello, Robin. Hello, Peter. I hope you've had a great week as I have. And yeah, welcome. So in the tradition of communication, I'm going to try to share some of the things that I've been putting into practice lately. One of the things I've recently become aware of is you cannot solve the problem with the mind that created the problem. And I think this is most clearly, well, for me, it's been a place where I've gotten stuck a lot. When you decide that things are a certain way, there is nothing, come hell or high water, that is going to change that for you. So it's better to go looking for the positive than the negative, because in today's world, the negative is very simple to find. And if you focus on it, you will get more negative. So, the author I'm working with is Dr. Robert Anthony. He's a neuro-linguistic programmer, and he's been publishing self-help and self-improvement concepts for just about 40 years. I ran across him inadvertently through a Primerica training about 10 years ago, and I actually have a series of tapes that he's produced with Joe Vitale called Beyond Positive Thinking. And it turns out Beyond Positive Thinking was the result from this book, The Total Secrets of Total Self-Confidence. Because in Dr. Robert Anthony's work, he's made the assumption that we all create our own worlds. And one of the theories he discusses quite often in his works is that you need to systematically pre-program and reprogram yourself for success. So one of the ways he has his students do this is when something negative happens, or when the outcome is not what you expected or wanted, you need to stop yourself. You need to say, that's not how I do it. And then reaffirm in the positive present tense what you wanted the outcome to have. So in this case, it would be, I had a real positive experience with that conversation, and I'm so glad I found the information the person needed. That's so much better from they didn't get what I was saying. Because if you repeat the negative outcome over and over again to yourself, the next time you're on the phone or having that text conversation, or like us in a small group here, you're going to repattern or replay what you've affirmed and what you repeat. He's under the opinion that your subconscious mind doesn't know when you're repeating a story as to whether it is true or not. It just knows that it's hearing it again and again and again. So if you dwell on the negative outcome, your subconscious gets it printed and printed and printed, and your mind will actually bring you back to the same negative result because you have predicted it. You've actually said this was going to be my result. So many times you can't break the pattern until you become consciously aware of it. So this is what Phyllis gets at when she sits us down and talks to us about becoming aware. Dr. Anthony says that consciousness is the result of your subconscious and your conscious mind systematically working together. One or the other is a recipe for disaster. Because if your subconscious mind just does what it thinks you want it to without direction, you won't get anything you want, go anywhere you desire, and have any positive outcomes, because you're literally confusing yourself by either changing what you desire regularly or not focusing on anything long enough to imprint it in your mind as the desired outcome. He says you've got to consciously work at these things for at least 2, if not 3 weeks. He recommends picking up a new habit every 3 weeks and practicing it for 30 days before you acquire another new habit. Now, he says just one thing at a time. Keep working on it. Every time you make that mistake, correct yourself, repeat out loud what you wanted the desired outcome to be, and then sooner or later, because you're consciously focused on it, that will be your outcome. It might take a day, it might take a week, but it will happen as long as you continue to be focused on it. So Robin gave me a page number, and having not set this up today, the page opened up exactly on Chapter 7, which is Recognize and Breaking the Dependency Habit. Dependency is slavery by mutual agreement. It is degrading for both the person who is dependent and the person who is being depended on. Both parties equally lack in self-reliance, for such a relationship flourishes on mutual exploitation. That's pretty appropriate to what I was sharing, wasn't it? And Robin and I didn't set this up. I had the book sitting on my desk since last week when I asked another member that was attending for a page number, and again, it was suitably appropriate to the topic of the week. The universe does work in mysterious ways, and as I firmly accept and grasp the answers presented to me, clearly more and more every day, more clear answers are presented to me again. So today I had a phone call with a VP at the company I work for saying he wants my input on putting together a company web template that bloggers can add to their blog that will complement their blogs but connect them to the company information necessary for them to disseminate to the people in a format they can use. So one of the problems I've always had is when you go to the company's replicated website, they give you the retail and the wholesale price on everything they advertise. So when the customer comes to get a good deal, they already know the wholesale. So when they don't save 30%, there's no deal. You see how that's funny, don't you, Peter?
That sort of destroys any chance of rapport.
And they're wondering why they've had negative growth last year and zero growth this year in Canada. They didn't listen to their audience. They didn't even listen to their own people. But now they've decided, in hindsight, they should have. Actually, it was because 6 months ago I disconnected my blog from their company website, and their Alexa ran from 22,000 to over 1 million in 6 months. So,
Michael, would you do me a favor? Would you please read that passage again from page 17?
Sure.
Thank you.
Topic is recognize and breaking the dependency habit. Dependency is slavery by mutual agreement. It is degrading for both the person who is dependent and the person who is being depended on. Both parties are equally lacking in self-reliance, for such a relationship only flourishes on mutual exploitation. It goes on to say, the most unfortunate aspect of dependence is that when you think you are depending on another individual, you are or have neglected to develop the necessary self-reliance to meet or resolve your own problems. A sure sign of dependency is when you habitually look up to others as superior than you are. Kind of funny, I had that experience recently, and it turns out that the person not wanting to work with me was the best thing that could have ever happened for me, because it made me stand up and take care of the things I wasn't dealing with. You know, but where I was at the time with the mind I had and the equipment I had, I chose to look at it as a negative experience. It wasn't. It was a liberating and empowering experience in hindsight, but as long as I was in that I need somebody to help me mode, I couldn't see it, and I was my own worst enemy. Oops. So the habit of leaning and depending on is so ingrained in certain individuals, they abdicate their own personal authority in favor of another person, philosophy, or religion. I can't count the number of times I've done this in the past in my life, be it the company's products, the guru, the teacher, the instructor, the course, the program. It's not about them. For each one of us, it's about us clearly singing our song and sharing our message. So they feel that they will be secure if they can find someone or some organization which is stronger and more knowledgeable than they, and to whom which they cling with blind devotion. They allow this person, group, or religion to be responsible for their happiness. He uses the story of Hitler and what happened to the Jews in Germany in the late 30s and the early 40s. It only takes a few people saying nothing or doing nothing or being swayed by the voices of a few, extreme people for something absolutely horrible to happen. But it is in the not standing up, the not speaking, the not being in our own power, and handing over the authority to government in this case that led to that horrible destruction and waste of human life. It's still going on today because the world that runs us, the banking and business world, have the war is the answer mentality, and they don't care who loses as long as there's a profit. And as long as that is the mode of business, things won't get better. I am so glad that I am part of the new economy where it is value first, sales next, profit later, not profit at all costs, no matter who gets hurt, because that is the old way. We really are entering the age of Aquarius, and actually I think physically sometime this year we actually crossed that border point, or we've just actually crossed that point in the astrology where we've moved from Pisces into the actual sign of Aquarius. And you've seen the change. I think everybody's felt the change in the last 3 months. I know that I'm much more focused on positive interconnection with the people around me than I've ever been in my past, and that is an Aquarian energy. It is all about the we, about what's best for us. What is good for the common person is good for all. It is not about the one or giving your power away. We've been trained for 2,500 years that the answer is outside ourselves by our religious model. The truth of the matter is we're all of the same thing. Not any one of us is any different. Dr. Anthony uses the analogy that we all use the universal mind, and we are each like a drop in the ocean. We're all of the ocean, and we each share the common unconscious tide. Part of the way things planned out for me at the end of last year, I was looking at a situation where I had not gotten the credit for something I'd thought up. And literally a week later, I was listening to Dr. Robert Anthony for the first time in maybe 5 years, and he gave us this lesson in his education process on how we all tapped into the same subconscious energy, and that is why it was possible for 2 different people in 2 different countries with 2 different languages on the opposite side of the planet to develop the same idea at the same time. And at the time, that was a big part of why I decided to take no action, because here was somebody that I had credited as an authority saying that I was looking at it from the wrong perspective. It was not the human mind doesn't create anything. It just accepts and shares what it's willing to accept from the greater universal mind. You can call it God, you can call it Allah, you can call it Krishna, you can call it Jia, you can Gaia. I mean, you can go on and on and on. But we are all of the same stuff. We're all made from stars. I can name you mine because I've studied that stuff, but we're all from outside of here, and the answer is to look inside ourselves for the answer. Dr. Robert Anthony, in the book, he says what you get is a function of having total self-confidence. If you question yourself, you cannot have what you want. Does that make sense to anybody?
It makes a lot of sense.
So steadily focusing on refocusing on the outcome and the desired goal is required if you want to get anywhere. If you let yourself get distracted, or the whole shiny object thing, the next marketer, the next training program. I'm full. I'd love some feedback.
Okay, so I'll unmute for this. I totally get that, Michael, because I've always believed that we were part of one consciousness. So for me, ideas are simply what the universe has given to you to share. It's as simple as that for me.
That was not the case with me for quite a while. I felt that whatever I'd done was mine, and with that ownership or the desire to control it, I was creating my own discomfort and putting things in my own way. Because until you accept that everything is what it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be and embrace that, you can't be free, because you're looking for somebody else to provide the answer, to give you the next step, to set the next outcome, to give you something to move you forward. But nobody can give us anything.
Or worst case, you're looking to control what other people have a right to get.
Could you explain that?
Yeah, you were going from the inside out, but if you take that model as everything is owned by everybody, that the thoughts are out there, and that is for us to essentially plug into, then if we then say we possess the results of a particular thought, that we are there, and we therefore, the concept of possession sort of says alongside, therefore we will decide whether the next person is worthy, either through paying us or through doing something of what we own that we don't really own. So, my issue there is until we grasp the concept of the fact that we are simply tapping into the common good, we are in danger of restricting access of people who need it, and therefore the common mind says, okay, this person is a roadblock, therefore let me go around this roadblock, because the people that need to hear it, and I'm not going to use, and I'll use your name because it's sitting in front of me. I'm not going to use Michael as a mouthpiece for the common good, because he wants to make it for his good, and then as a byproduct the common good. That making sense?
No, it makes perfect sense, and it's a great way of explaining it that I hadn't approached yet. When you're inside the problem, you can't see all the ramifications of it, and it's in this group dynamic where you can get the other side, or the flip side of the coin. Sometimes just flipping it around and looking at it a different way again makes it clearer and more relevant to the conversation. So thanks for your contribution, Peter. It's nice to have you back and contributing to the collective mind. We've missed a couple of weeks because I didn't have another male body here to give that other perspective.
The mind's been there, it's just the body that's not been playing ball.
I'm so glad you're back to your jovial self.
We are all part of the common mind, so the mind has to be there, just based on the thesis which I actually buy into, that was put out there today, and it's very interesting if you look back, as I tend to be old enough to look back at history, and about the battles that have happened in history, as the person who one guy said he invented the telephone, another guy said he invented the telephone. The printing press, Gutenberg gets credit for it, but he wasn't the only guy who was, putting stuff together to reproduce word. The British guy who the apple fell on his head, I forget his name right now, but Isaac Newton. Those guys had a whole set of counterparts that were running around in German cities, before Germany was actually invented. But the point being that there are certain common problems that get energy from the universe when the universe decides it's time for the universal mind to be given it.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly what he's getting at, is the fact that when an idea's time has come, it literally, the idea's time has come, and it will get out to the general populace through any mind that is of like mind willing to receive the information, because both things have to be present. First of all, the information has to be of value to you, or the activating device in your brain will prevent you from seeing the information, because it only sees things that confirm what you believe are important. So until I realized that I needed to find a food that would help me fix up my body, I scoffed at, made fun of, and made a mockery of every single natural solution offered to me. Once I decided that I didn't want to take pills and that I needed to find a natural answer, I had like 10 options in 3 months.
Right.
But until I decided it had value, it did not exist in my reality. I smoked and drank and partied.
Well, another, just sort of thinking of concepts. One of the common concepts in the whole network marketing industry is that it's sold as, this opportunity is a once in a lifetime. Well, you just described the fact that, whatever opportunity is at 10 times a day. It's not seen until you open your inner eyesight, your mind.
I think yes, you're onto it. What he describes actually is, you have to first of all have a picture of what you want. So if you're a salesperson, you need to decide in your mind who the perfect customer is. It's that marketing model, they want you to have your perfect customer, but he says to use it for a different reason. It's so you can think like your perfect customer, so you could anticipate his wants, needs, and questions as he comes to them, so that when he gets your information, it makes sense to him because you've planned it for him. And he says if you're not that clear on what you have to offer and what the benefit to the individual will be, and as a third step, what you will receive for providing that benefit, the person either won't recognize it or you won't get paid for it, because all three things have to exist in a logical progression for it all to work out. So he doesn't believe in sales training. He believes in modeling your perfect customer for each specific product or each specific different desired outcome. So if you want to approach 30-year-olds and get them to save or get their first insurance policy, each one of those two choices has a different model. You can't model to both of them at the same time, because you'll confuse the other people and lose 3/4 of them. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And the thing that he's talking about is not the way goals and deciding what you want is normally spoken of.
No, I agree. And again, it isn't being just that little bit different from what people know is where the answer is. It's like they've got 90% of it, but unless they start with the desired outcome, it's only going to work 10% of the time. I think we've lost Peter. His old camera's given up again and froze on us. It's okay, I'll put the focus back on me. I can talk forever. Those interesting introverts, once you get them started, you can't stop them, it turns out. So I'll carry on with Dr. Robert Anthony. The leaning and dependent individual is at the mercy of those around him, believing others are smarter than himself. He is always looking for someone to lean on when a new problem confronts him. Subordinate to those to whom he depends on their advice becomes a command, which he feels compelled to follow. And where, as is frequently the case, there are several advisors, he is constantly in a state of exhaustion as he tries to decide which advice to follow. Advice is everywhere. Most of it is free and not worth the price. You usually have a dozen or more unpaid advisors who are more than happy to give you their opinion. But since others are generally engrossed in their own problems and do not know what you really should, ought, or must do, you invariably get the wrong advice for you. Indeed, accepting advice from someone who is not qualified to dispense it is like going to a plumber to get your teeth fixed. Most people can't solve their own problems, so how can they advise you to do what they haven't been able to accomplish for themselves? Overcoming dependency isn't easy, but when we have been conditioned since childhood to look for another to be dependent on for our welfare, guidance, and wisdom, this willing dependency will play a role on our upbringings and our adulthood. When we were babies, we were 100% and wholly dependent on somebody else for everything. Somebody needed to feed you milk. Somebody needed to wipe your bottom. Somebody needed to carry you around. So unless at some point we constantly break this need to be dependent by standing up and taking full responsibility for what got us here, one of my coaches was really, really famous for saying, you get the results of what you create in your life. It's kind of funny. It's back to that, you get what you focus on. You cannot change your outcome until you change the thinking that got you to that outcome. So we all have to be open to change, and if you're not self-confident, when that information you need comes in, you might take it as a criticism. I recently had the experience of learning something from my 22-year-old daughter. I'm not going to share it in detail here, but if you're open to it, you can learn from a 5-year-old. I've had that experience too, working with my grandkids or the 3-year-old. It turns out Brooklyn knows how to change the picture on my desktop. She couldn't explain to me how to change it back, but I came to my office the other day and I found that she'd changed the picture on my desktop. The funny thing is, Grandpa doesn't remember how to change it. I can't change it back. So I've started her on my laptop, and when I'm in the office and want her not to interrupt me, I open up a Word document and I got her typing. Now, she's only 3 years old, but I know for a fact the first time she gets the laptop in school or the first time she gets on a typewriter, this kid's going to be a whiz. She can pound those keys. She knows to get my attention when she runs out of paper so I can delete what she's already typed on the page, and we just have a blast. But had I not learned to teach and share what I know, I couldn't be that person for her today. I wasn't that person when my kids were that age. When my kids were 3 and 5 years old, I was so busy working 10, 12 hours a day that I was happy if I spent half an hour quality time with them on the weekend. My days off were Sunday, Monday, so Sunday was my day with the girls in the morning. Well, Anne slept in because she'd had them the whole rest of the week, because I wasn't home till 9 or 10 o'clock at night in the winter, and in the summer I didn't get home till midnight. Well, I'll tell you, when your kids are 3 and 5 years old, they're never up at midnight. And if you get home at midnight, you don't get up till 10 o'clock in the morning. You get to spend maybe an hour or two with your kid before you go to work at noon for 1 or 2 or 3, depending on your shift, and off the cycle starts again. So you get what you think about, and I've been thinking about having more time to work on my business, and things conspired 3 weeks ago to give me that more time. And as soon as I had the more time, more learning opportunities came in to fill up that space. I've been spending 20 hours a week on a training platform that has affiliate products that sell for up to $8,000. It's going to be nice to get that first $500 paycheck at my 5% basic commission I get for my $97 a month. But a year ago, I wouldn't have been open to that option or this program. As a compliment, I would have thought I had to choose between what I was already doing and what I had going on now. But some of the studies I did this year showed me that you need and you have to be open to anything that works if you want to move forward. Not only should you do everything that works, but you should promote and offer everything that works. You need to be offering everything to everybody, but specifically what you answer to the specific people. So you need to work both ends of it. So I have a specific health food product that I promote upfront and most often. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing that till the day I die because it is Michael's Health Answers. But I have consciously chosen to seek out other things that work so that I can have true multiple streams of income. I have Webinar Jam as a software. I'm looking at Dr. Robert Anthony's stuff and selling. He has 2 different programs that he offers an affiliate program with. And this week I'm going to sign up as his affiliate, not just because I want to look at another revenue income and stream, but because just playing the 6 CDs I have every week for the last month in succession. So each morning I go up and do my papers. I played a different one of the 6 CDs that are based on this book I'm reading. So I'm reading it, but at the same time I'm also listening for 45 minutes every day to the audio, and it's literally shown me exactly what I was doing wrong. So because it has worked so well for me, I am obligated, as I was with my health products, to passionately share it with other people, because if it works, it works, and it's going to work for anybody that wants it or needs it to work if they want it to, because it's never going to work. I've had this experience with the health product I love. I had a woman contact me 2 weeks ago. I'm ready to try that health product. I got back to her a week later. She said, I can't take it. I can't tolerate it. I hate the taste, hate the flavor. And I thought, well, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, it happens. It's happened to me in the last 6 weeks. You just drop the unused product off. You've used 2 packages. I'm not going to charge you a dime. Our company has a 100% refund. There was a time where that experience would have wiped me out for a week. I would have thought, oh, what have I done wrong? You know, why didn't this work? You know, how's the person going to get better? Well, it turns out I got 2 other liquid products that won't be a problem for this person to ingest, and if they're open when they bring the other product, I can pass those unopened products on to them to try, because my solution may not be their solution. But if I wasn't open to trying these other things, I wouldn't have these other options for this individual to try, and I might not have had her health answer. I don't know if either of the other products sitting on the shelf behind me are going to work for her, but I know that the cherry juice is an anti-inflammatory, which is going to help her with her hip pain, because she recently had a hip surgically replaced 8 months ago and had a rough recovery from that, and 2 years before she'd had the other hip replaced. So I know that she's immune deficient. I was hoping to get her on my immune boosting product because her body's no longer capable of producing stem cells, because it turns out adults only produce stem cells from their hip joints and nowhere else in your body. So when you've taken a natural hip joint out of your body, you've given up half your immune system, and when you take the second one from the body, you've given up 95% of your immune function. So you need to supplement that. Fortunately, I know of another liquid product that's a special treated salt water that has a positive energy or a positive electron added to the salt water that makes it have medical and medicinal benefits, and it's had 6 studies in the first year that all proved different benefits for different diseases and illnesses. So I'm hoping I can pass this product on that I'm not selling anymore. I've got 1 bottle left in the shelf, and I had no idea why it was sitting there for a year. Fortunately, the stuff has no expiry date because it's just ionized salt water. I don't know the exact process they use for it, but the people that use it in Sweden that I was talking to were just amazed by the results. And it turns out that it in some way enhances the production of glutathione naturally in your body. And the reason it didn't work for me is I'd already maximized my body's ability to enhance my glutathione level by what I was already doing. But what it did prove to me was that it could be the answer for somebody in a country where my product wasn't available. And that was the reason I looked at it then, and why I'm going to offer it to this person when they come by tomorrow to spend time with me to see if we can find a solution. Because not only does she have a health challenge I want to help her with, she is a chartered accountant, and I would love to have her go through the last 7 years of my taxes and see if she can make or save me any money. So it's a win-win. Welcome back, Peter. Was it an internet connection issue for you, or a camera failure?
No, it was an internet connect. It was it's you can get back on the horse, but if it's only got 3 legs, you're going to fall off eventually.
So your hardware is the oldest part of your infrastructure presently.
Well, I didn't have my machine plugged. I mean, it was a user error. Didn't have the computer plugged into the, I was running off the battery and did not notice that the battery reached a dangerously low level.
Of course, and video is the largest hog for power, period. And then we're streaming video on top of that, so it's going to wipe out your battery in a third the normal time.
Yeah, I mean, it said I had, 2.5 hours left when I logged on, but as that's based on the fact that I wasn't using video and all of that fun stuff, I guess, when it calculates. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm back, and don't waste time on welcoming me back.
I'm just glad you're able to attend.
Discussion going. I love these discussions.
And I love the fact that I have an audience to share them with, because having these discussions with yourself is a little bit crazy. Not to say it doesn't serve a purpose, because I find talking to myself quite rewarding lately as I correct myself and address those issues when I'm not happy with my activities.
But sometimes a different perspective is invaluable.
Absolutely, especially when you're off the reservation in your own territory. Sometimes you don't know you've left the reservation.
I wanted to go back a little bit to the when the message will come, if you're open to it. That it's out there. I have been using that in my new business, which has taken a huge amount of pressure off me. When I speak to somebody and they say no, my immediate response is they're not saying no because they don't want it. They're saying no because they're not yet open, and that's just a timing thing. It's never permanent. No doesn't mean no. In this case, that it was simply they're not ready for that information at this time, and I never write anybody off at this point.
Well, that's kind of different from the Robin I met. I remember you used to chase people. Hound and hound and hound. You got to get this. You got to get this. You got to get this, and it works like 1% of the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and because I was so passionate, I was not open to understanding that there is a different way. For me, it was, I know this, you now have to know this because it's critical. And I now am able to give permission to the rest of the world to accept the information in their own time when they are ready. And it has been hugely freeing for them and me.
Isn't that a wonderful breakthrough?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you're describing is how most people are taught.
That is completely true. We are a sum total of our training. The reason that most people that are unconscious or subconscious still are in a dependent state is they're still working from that childhood programming. They are still, to some degree, that inner child that needs to have that mother figure pick them up, wipe their bottom, feed them food. And they don't know that they are in this state because unaware people are just that. They're unaware that they're their own problem, or that they're standing in their own way, or that their actions or behaviors are odd or particular. I mean, when I was selling insurance, I couldn't understand why anybody on the planet wouldn't want the best deal on insurance possible. And then I realized, first of all, about a third of the people weren't in my market at all. They had no need for insurance. Of the 2/3 left, half of them didn't care about anybody else but themselves. So that automatically got you down to a third. So if I assumed everybody needed insurance, I was, barking up the wrong tree, I don't know, 70% of the time or something stupid.
Well, I think the issue that Robin just brought up, I think it was Robin, it's more, it's not whether or not they need something. It is because I am absolutely sure that the way it was just described, that because it's happened for me, when I get a benefit from a product, I will hound people because of my desire that they get a benefit and have the fun feeling that whatever the product was gave me. So it is not necessarily a bad thing that we as individuals want to share goodness from our lives. The key learning that is being reinforced today that I am hearing is twofold. One, that because it's good for us has a lot to do with how we have positioned ourselves to take the benefit. And if someone has not put in that work or positioned themselves to be in the line of the universal consciousness to improve they're not ready yet, then it doesn't matter whether I tell them about it. It actually doesn't matter whether they take it, because they're not ready to receive the active ingredients.
Another thing too, Peter, just to break in for a minute, is we're messengers. It's our job to provide information to people about whatever it is that we are so passionate about our successes. If we cannot detach from the outcome, we're doing a disservice. People are autonomous and they must be allowed to make the decision. It's really arrogant, I think, on my part, to assume that somebody should do something because I think it's their best thing. I really have to detach myself from their decision and allow it to be their decision.
Boom, you got that right. As soon as you stop chasing people, they're attracted to you, if they're open. And if they're not, you shouldn't be chasing them anyways. One of the analogies that Dr. Anthony uses in his CD set is, think about it this way. You've got this amazingly beneficial health food. Everybody that takes it receives a benefit. Now, you give this product to somebody that you deeply care about. They take the product, and A, either it doesn't work, or B, through some misadventure, the dog eats it, it gets stolen, it gets lost, it ends up on the back of the cupboard, disappears for 3 months. For whatever reason, they weren't at the right place to accept it. And actually, if you give it to them or force it upon them, you may be doing them a disservice, because they may not supposed to be healthy at this point, because they have some experience that they are here to have that is part of their own unfolding or part of their personal destiny. And if you force them into a situation where they take something that isn't ready, it's going to be like the dieter. They're going to lose the 20 or 30 pounds while they're on the diet, and as soon as your direct influence on them's gone, they're going to go back to their old self. They're going to start eating the Haagen-Dazs on the way home, and they're going to be having the chips in front of the TV set, and they're going to be 300 pounds. When people are ready, and if they're open, it'll be there. So what we really have to do is, as Diane described it, climb to the highest rock, figure out what the song is we want to sing, and sing it a little bit louder every day to anybody that comes forward to listen to it. And sooner or later, if they're open, they'll do what is in their best interest, because it's in their best interest and they're open. You cannot ever get anybody to do anything they don't want to do long term. If you convince them to take the product or sign up in the business, they're not going to have the results you did. And they're not going to have the success you want for them, because it's not for them. So it is detachment. I mean, that's part of the reason why I love Phyllis. She's always working with me on that clinical detachment. If you are more invested in the outcome than the person you are talking to, you are lost. Does that make sense? Does anybody else agree with that? And Robin, you got it right there. It is that detachment, that being consciously aware that we are standing in our own way and choosing, because we have detachment, to start to act in a different way. So what Dr. Robert Anthony's specialty is when you decide on that different behavior, he has half a dozen different protocols you can run yourself through that will help you affirm your desired new outcomes. And they're just repeatable systems that you use to imprint yourself. So he goes back. I talked a couple of months ago about the speech specialist guy and how he wanted you to take a picture from the first person. Well, Dr. Anthony again is reaffirming that. He says when you're visualizing or when you're imprinting yourself, so say I'm calling up people and I get that negative result and I'm not happy with the outcome, you can say to yourself, that's okay, some will, some won't, next. I think that one goes back to Tom Hopkins. And invariably, some will, some won't, next. And some will, because you have programmed yourself that some will. As long as you assume that nobody's going to because this person didn't, you'll replay that and you'll repeat that because you get what you believe you're going to get. It's not that simple, and that's why we need other people that have been there and learned these things to help explain the mechanics, but we can't give them the power because if we don't learn the techniques and then repeatedly practice the techniques, we can't have the outcome because we haven't done the work, which is why it's wrong to try and force somebody else to grow in a way they're not ready to grow yet. And I know personally it has been a huge cross for me to bear. I ran into a guy probably 2 years ago I went to high school with. In high school, he was the 180-pound guy, and I was the 240-pound guy. When I met him at 45 years old, he was the 240-pound guy, and I was the 180-pound guy. And he says to me, yeah, it gets funnier. He says to me, wow, you know, you're so much in better shape. You're so healthy. What have you done? And I said, this and this and this, and I've been doing it every day for 5 years at this point. I'm 7 years now, but at the time I'd done it for 5 years. He says, you know, I really wish I could find somebody who would help me with my weight. Did you know my dad died at 50 of a heart attack? I'm worried I'm going to have a heart attack and die. Now, I just explained to him I'd taken this product for the last 6 years that protected my heart and saved me from the heart attack. He's telling me he'd like to have this outcome, but he doesn't recognize that I have his solution standing in front of him. And I can't make him realize that it's not my place, it's not right, it ain't my time. He maybe is supposed to die from a heart attack. Maybe that's his outcome for this life. It paid me. I really like the guy. I think he's a neat guy. You know, he's got an adult kid, and, you know, but he didn't want it. He did not listen. I was standing there in front of me. He commented as to my result and outcome, but he could not see it for him. Even though we both grew up in the same community, I've known the guy since he was like 8 years old, so over 40 years. He didn't get it because he wasn't ready to be healthy yet. He was carrying a box of beer, and he went outside and lit a cigarette. You see the irony? Every weekend, the guy drinks 24 beer, and every day he smokes a pack of cigarettes. The amount of money he spends on beer and cigarettes would give him 4 packets a day of Unical. He would be Superman. He would be so healthy, people would be wondering what he'd done. You get what you think about most.
Yes.
You got to be careful what you think about because you get what you think about most. When I was looking for a negative outcome, I was tripping over them. Really tripping over them. I think some of us had some conversations about some of them. When I stopped focusing on the negative outcome, I started tripping over positives all over the place. You know, 6 new money-making opportunities in the last 6 weeks. 2 of them I'm going to actively pursue. 2 of them I put in the back burner, and 2 of them I put aside as not for me. But I didn't throw them away or wasn't rude to the people. I just said, it doesn't excite me, thanks. And then today, on top of all the other wonderful things, I got a chance to sign up for an Eric Worre training for $1 that Robin brought to my attention. I understand Eric Worre's a genius in the marketing industry, and I'd love to check out his stuff for a month for $1. So I'm going to ask Robin to share that link in the Webmasters Posse, so anybody else who has never heard Eric Worre share in a 2-hour training can get in for $1 and find out what the guy's got going on, because I understand he's one of the 10 best people in our space teaching marketing and mindset right now, and if you don't know who he is, you should follow the link Robin provided. I watched it for like 10 minutes, half an hour ago, and I'm going to go back after this class, and I'm going to spend the hour and 50 minutes and listen to what the man has to say, not just because Robin said it was cool, because I've had 6 other people tell me in the last 6 weeks that his stuff's cool.
I thought you couldn't buy it till 4 o'clock Central this afternoon.
I think what he's going to do is he's going to make it available for 24 hours because he had trouble. Yes, he did delay it, but it was delayed again. So he's going to make it available for 24 hours.
And Michael, it's a lot more than just a couple of hour training.
Yes.
Well, all I know is I got the link before the meeting today, and I had 10 minutes to cruise into it. And
yeah. It's a whole package. It's several of his trainings, thousands of dollars worth.
Thousands of hours.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. And I wasn't open to that a month ago, and here it is right in front of me for $1. I mean, like, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't have paid the thousands. I mean, because he gives value every day anyway.
Yeah.
But, for $1, I'll take it all and go sift through it.
Yes. Yes.
All good.
And what it will do, I would tend to predict, because of what I've been hearing this today, that all it will do is confirm things that are already inside of you because you're ready to hear.
That's basically what we've said for the whole meeting, absolutely, in summation. I've got to run, folks, so I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much. It's been really inspiring today, and I will see you all next week.
Hey, before you go, Robin.
Yes?
What do you think about parallel universes? Maybe we should get into that, too.
Yeah, oh, I totally agree.
You too. Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Take care, Robin.
Hi, Robin. Thank you.
All right, well, we're at 12:52, so unless anybody else has any questions or comments, I'm pretty spent.
I don't know if you can see me, but I've been here for quite a while.
Yeah, you came in almost half an hour ago. Thanks for jumping on.
I came in at 12:09.
Okay, 40 minutes ago.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, I noticed it half an hour ago, but that was because I was talking and I was absorbed in what I was trying to relate.
Oh, I can listen to you expound.
I'm so glad. I would hate to think that I wasn't covering ground that was useful. But here's the wonderful and unique thing. We're all here at the same time enjoying this experience, but we're also at almost the same points in our own different journeys, because otherwise this wouldn't fit and wouldn't resonate, and we wouldn't have the camaraderie that's present here. Honestly, I would do this every day I'm online for the rest of my time online, because not only do I learn something from each one of you every time you participate and give feedback and input, but I actually enjoy the repartee and the interaction. I haven't had this much fun with a group of people since I left the restaurant business, and that was one of the reasons I stayed in the restaurant business for 20 years, because no matter how busy it was, no matter how cranky a customer was, no matter how bitched out the owner's wife was, or whatever the problem was with the waitress he was seeing that week, we had fun. We supported each other. We were there for each other. There was a camaraderie present that I missed for a while, especially online, because a lot of time it's all serious and all business. And it's not why I'm in business. I'm in business so that I can make friends, enjoy life, share what I know works, and learn from other people that want to share what they know works.
Well, I'll share. I'm glad to be back on the horse. I have enjoyed myself today. I have learned I I feel like I've been on 3 times today because I've had to log in 3 times. So I've caught up on the last 2 weeks when I was out of service because I logged in 3 times.
Yeah, we missed you, Peter.
I missed me, to be honest.
I will not be able to be on next week, though, Michael. I got to take the Buttons back to the vet.
Fair enough. I understand that the dog is an important part of your life, and if the dog needs to be taken care of, that's simple. Take care of the dog.
Yes, yes. Usually I can make it quickly, but they wanted to make it 11 o'clock my time this time, and like I say, it's 50 miles round trip.
Yeah, no problem. It's actually good that it's next week you're missing because 2 weeks from now, Phyllis will be back for her once-a-month visit.
Oh, good.
So that'll time out really well so you can catch Phyllis for the last session this month.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll be talking to her on Monday about the topic, but yeah, she'll.
And by the way, camaraderie is very important. I'm out here in the middle of the desert all by myself. I mean, I've got family, but they've got their life, and I pretty much stay back here to myself. You know what I mean?
I understand.
So I have no other camaraderie really than other than my community. So it's very important.
Yep. We were not designed to be here on our own.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I enjoy my alone time. Don't get me wrong there. But
No,
interaction,
no,
whether
but
one or not.
as human beings, we are social animals. We are not designed to be on our own. That's why solitary confinement is so destroying to the people that are put into it.
Well, and the technology, thank God, is such that we can do that.
Yeah, technology is technology. We can be just as lonely in front of 7 million people. What I like about this is the actual interaction where you can take a deep breath and you can ask an opinion, and you know it is not lonely in any way, shape, or form.
I agree.
Oh, and
Yeah, I'm going to get off.
All right.
you. Bye.
See you guys. I'll see you in a
Thank you
couple
for
of weeks.
welcoming me back.
Definitely. Thank you both.
Bye.